For those who wondered what I was drinking on a previous video, it's just sparkling natural mineral water. Having another now. Trying to stay hydrated in the hot weather. It's been a lot fresher today. I want to talk about Mars in this video. Very recent news about Mars. But before I do, I want to thank Cheshire, or Goblin Queen Chesh, has a username comes up as under the comments. She says one minor technical thing. Wolf wasn't in my DMs. He came to me on Twitter under one of my posts. Thank you for the correction and the clarification. I just got confused down the line. You know what this group's like. They try to draw through it. Your brain goes a bit backward. But still, he was posting things underneath Cheshire's post on Twitter or X, whatever we want to call it now. Not in our DMs, but it was at Steve's request. Not being paid for by Steve to do so, but doing errands. Because, you know, Steve doesn't do things. He gets everyone else to do it for him, right? Because he's very inept. Technically inept. Socially inept. And there he is, gathering a group around him who's technically and socially inept. Kind of, yeah. There's no self-improvement through and through, and no challenge of, I surround other people who will challenge me to improve myself. There's no concept of that. But once again, thank you, Chesh, for the correction. Now let's talk about Mars. This is very recent. The BBC have reported on this, so it's some information. Again, I've said before, I don't like the BBC as much. But there's some things that, things like this, they're not so crappy on. It's valid enough, clean enough information. When it gets to other things, politics and other things, it's a bit biased, I think, and that's true of a lot of media outlets when it comes to politics. Regardless, let's talk about this. Scientists have discovered a reservoir of liquid water on Mars. I am drinking water, by the way. If you wondered what the previous video was, I'm drinking out a bottle like this. Same stuff. It's Pellegrino sparkling natural mineral water. So, yeah, they found water deep in the rocky outer crust of the planet. They've known for a long time there's permafrost, and permafrost is basically permanently frozen water. Now, I've always thought there is an atmosphere on Mars, not how we think of an atmosphere, but any level of atmosphere, how much of the sun's heat to that atmosphere is trapped or slowed down from reflecting back out into space at all. That's why planet Earth heats up and we get these, you've heard of greenhouse gases, so it slows down the bouncing it back out, causing a greenhouse effect. And you'll know if you ever had a greenhouse and grown, I don't know, grow tomatoes in a greenhouse, cucumbers, you know how hot it can get in there, as opposed to the outside, because it's trapping that heat. It's slow. You can't contain heat 100%. It has to move elsewhere. You can slow it down though, and the slowing down of the heat going back out into space is part of the problem of planet Earth heating up. To bring Mars, there's theories on if we had the technical prowess to do so, how we would go and bring Mars alive. And that's like to pollute the atmosphere, ironically, to create more greenhouse gases on Mars, to slow down the heat coming back out into space. That's hit the planet from the heat from the sun. So they discovered deep in the rocky crust, and they've always thought it was a planet with liquid water because of the geology. There's long cut valleys that could have been cut with rivers and oceans. The findings come from a new analysis of data from NASA's Mars Insight lander, which touched down on the planet back in 2018. So this article, by the way, is 12th of August 2024, so that was yesterday. I had the update from a friend. They sent me a text today while I was in a public bar, of which I've shared a picture of the behind the bar on the Discord I communicate in. They're lovely staff at that bar, and it's always a good time to walk in there. This is a daytime visit. I don't do nightlife drinking because, yeah, been there, done that. Bunch of idiots mostly. Nightlife isn't for me. The lander carried a seismometer which recorded 4 years of vibrations, Mars quakes from deep inside the red planet. Analyzing these quakes and exactly how the planet moves revealed seismic signals of liquid water. And now there's a vibration causing a wave through water, and maybe they can measure that sort of speed relative to how the speed of it would go through rock, so they can discern the density of what it's in, and it's all the different things like that. Sound travels faster through water than it does air, by the way. It doesn't mean we're going to hear it any quicker. Sound has its specific top speed, I guess, but I understand that it goes faster through water. It's just like you got a movable medium that doesn't dissipate the energy as much. How do I describe this in a physics way? Keep it layman termed. It depends on the medium that sound waves moving from, but you get like a more of a muffled, perhaps, but with depending on certain sound. On Earth, if it's going through, you won't hear it as clearer, but the sound itself, whatever it is actually moving quicker. Depending on pitches, though, sonar was actually a thing that here we go, travels using sound technology. Sonar for a submarine in water. How they discern certain speeds of sound is technology around that as well. But let's get back to Mars anyway. While there is frozen water at the Martian poles and evidence of vapor in the atmosphere, vapor would be how evaporation works on Earth. Last week I saw it raining a little bit. Actually, I didn't see it raining. I saw evidence of there being a heavy downfall, but I just came from a nearby town that was bone dry. Happens like that sometimes when there's very little wind, very little horizontal movement, and for many levels upwards, looking at the sky, the clouds were very still. Further down, the trees were very still. There was only really updraft and downdraft, which you can get like thundery weather for that. But going to my hometown from another town on the bus that day, you saw steam coming off the roads. That's your vapor. That's evaporating back into cloud form into the atmosphere. So you get vapor cloud masses on Mars, Martian poles, and evidence of vapor in the atmosphere. There is this is the first time liquid water has been found on the planet, because this condenses normally on Earth. You get enough of that vapor into a particular level of the atmosphere, and it condenses and comes down as rain and goes back up again and down again. InSight's scientific mission ended in December 2022 after the lander sat quietly listening to the pulse of Mars for 4 years. In that time, the probe recorded more than 1,319 quakes, Martian quakes. Like we get earthquakes, you get Mars quakes, you even get moon quakes as well, the moon around our own Earth. The moon is far from this dead rock that orbits Earth. It's actually very active in many different ways. By measuring how fast seismic waves travel, scientists have worked out what material they're mostly likely moving through. That's what I was trying to describe earlier. Kind of butchered it though. These are actually the same techniques we used to prospect for water on Earth, or to look for oil and gas, explained Professor Michael Manga from the University of California, Berkeley, who was involved in the research. The analysis revealed reservoirs of water at depths of about 6 to 12 miles. It's pretty deep down. Or otherwise as 10 to 20 kilometers in the Martian crust. To quote researcher Dr. Bashan Wright, they said understanding the Martian water cycle is critical for understanding the evolution of the climate, surface, and interior, said lead researcher of Dr. Bashan Wright. I think it's Bashan Wright. From UC San Diego Scripps Institution of Oceanography. Professor Mango added that water was the most important molecule in shaping the evolution of a planet. So it's of our planet, definitely. And if you look at the geology of Earth, its shape, the valleys and everything, yeah, it definitely looks like oceans cut through the rock and rivers cut through the rock, shaping its geology. This finding, he said, answers a big question of where did all the Martian water go? Studies of the surface of Mars with its channels and ripples show that in ancient times there were rivers and lakes on the planet. But 3 billion years it has been a desert. Some of that water was lost to space when Mars lost its atmosphere. So it's kind of an atmosphere. It's not like an atmosphere that we would call it though. But said Professor Manga, here on Earth, much of our water is underground, and there's no reason for that not to be the case on Mars too. Let's have a look about this. Wikipedia has information about atmosphere of Mars is the layer of gases surrounding Mars. So there's kind of atmosphere. It's primarily composed of carbon dioxide as 95%, molecular nitrogen 2.85%, and argon 2%. It also contains trace levels of water vapor, as described in the recent report. Some oxygen, carbon monoxide as well, and hydrogen, and other noble gases. The atmosphere of Mars is much thinner and colder than Earth's, having a max density of 20 grams / N3. I don't know what that measurement is. I think it's, I don't know. Is that per volume, per a particular volume? I don't know. It's about 2% of Earth's value anyway, whatever that measurement is. And they describe it there, 2%. So very little compared to Earth's much denser atmosphere. With a temperature generally below 0 down to minus 60 Celsius. Brr, that's cold, right? This is why you got permanently frozen water as well. The average surface pressure is about 610 pascals. That would be 0.088 psi. Psi is pounds per square inch, which is 0.6 of the Earth's value. Okay. So I guess that deep down in the rock causes enough pressure for this water to not be ice. It's pressure, and if there are Martian quakes as well, that might cause friction as well. If there's and all these a number of different dynamics that cause it to be in liquid form, right? Pretty cool. I think that's a cool find. Yeah. The InSight probe was only able to record directly from the crust beneath its feet, but the researchers expect that there will be similar reservoirs across the planet. If that is the case, they estimate that there is enough liquid water on Mars to form a layer across the surface that would be more than half a mile deep. A layer of liquid water more than half a mile deep. That's a lot of water, right? However, they point out the location of this Martian groundwater is not good news for billionaires with Mars colonization plans. Yeah, Elon Musk. Cuckoo. Elon Musk is complete. He's lost it. He's a nutter. Oh, they do actually talk about Musk here as well. So I got again, I think, did I already say that? I got the update on this. I got a text through from a close, let's call them a close friend, who I haven't seen in person for a while, but we may be meeting up in a few months. I get texts from them still, and they text out, have you seen this? So this is pretty cool. Where was I? Lost my place in reading that. The location of Martian is not good for billionaires with Mars colonization plans who might want to tap into it. It's sequestered 10 to 20 kilometers deep in the crust, explained Professor Manga. Drilling a hole 10 kilometers deep on Mars, even for Elon Musk, would be difficult, he told the BBC. It would be difficult for anyone. I mean, the way they put, even for Elon Musk, you're nobody special. No. The discovery could also point to another target for the ongoing search for evidence of life on Mars. There was some news some years ago, whether they found it was an error in the reading or not, but it seemed to be reporting methane gas on Mars. Maybe that was something that was like a fluke or whatever. But But on Earth, when you get methane, it usually comes from waste of living creatures. If you fart, you're expelling methane. So without liquid water, you don't have life, says Professor Manga. So there are habitable environments on Mars. If I was beginning to think, oh, here we go, is this really, Professor? So if there are habitable environments on Mars, those may be now deep underground. Be fascinating, wouldn't it? But would we be told, in the current climate of the idiocy, just because people believe a certain thing rather than know a certain thing, we see a lot of dysfunctional behavior via beliefs in human nature versus way more than versus people who actually know things. And I think, what about religious extremists? If they discovered, if it was reported by science, hey, we found a single-celled bacteria or some kind of life on Mars, if that was even possible, how would they react? I mean, personally, for me, I'd be like, oh, that's cool. And I'd be utterly fascinated by it and want to learn more about it. But I don't think would we see it in our lifetime? There's a lot that's changing exponentially. That's the thing, that human nature, myself and other people, we tend not to think in ways of exponential growth. I've certainly begun to think more about that a lot, because these numbers, how exponential progress works in nature, in math, numbers exist. Just like how COVID spread, how a virus spreads. Any virus, like one person infects two, those two people each infect another two. It's a way more than that, but that means that it's not going to be a linear up the chart, and you'll see where I'm going with this thought process now in a minute. It's faster, more progress than the previous progress, and faster than the previous, and so on, times and times. Look at how we're progressing with our technology. We do plateau now and then, but when we plateau, we have another big leap, which is faster than the previous leap. So faster and faster technological prowess. Within my lifetime, you probably are going to see something on Mars, machinery or whatever, that is able to discern more about this water, more so than that's currently on there. Exponentially, people are living longer and longer as well. I think, and this is a big stretch of the imagination for a number of people, and I don't really have the science necessarily to back up my claim, but seeing how some of the science that already is here and experiments that some rare individuals are doing to improve their health and live longer, I think any individual that is alive today who's deep enough into that kind of research could be the first person to, for all intents and purposes, be immortal, like live a permanent life as they live along with massive advances in biology, medication, and so on. And I mean, that sounds like, I understand me saying that sounds like science fiction. I don't know what other words to use at the moment with this time of night to so people understand what I'm saying there. It does sound outlandish, I admit, and it does sound a bit crazy. I'll flat out admit that. Yeah. But certainly I'm way past an age that I would have lived in the 1800s right now. Got a moth flying around you. Yeah, exponentially, people are living longer and longer and longer. And I know people with certain rough lifestyles and addiction to certain things I went to school with, and they look twice my age. There's that as well. There's a problem. The things we do to ourselves relative to, like, the things that we are able to do in this time can improve your life far more exponentially compared to 10 years ago. Maybe, well, certainly, yeah, if you know about the right things. And then 20 years ago, even more. Exponentially, we're living longer and longer. Exponentially, we're making more and more advances in medication, biology, technology. It's all happening. The only way the human race is going to continue in its survival is if we go into orbit. But you can't survive on this rock. There's no emergency exits on Earth. And yet we're crashing the life support system of the planet. Yeah. I think it's a narrow margin for us to make it. A very narrow margin. But I think we will. Because what do we do when every single human being on the planet is under threat? We group together and make some teamwork. The majority of us do, but there's always those bad apples going completely crazy. But that's what we did during COVID. Very quickly, the world's scientists, biologists, virologists, people who make vaccines, they all shared information and saw the research that was already done and expanded on more research and so on. Before you know it, the first person to be vaccinated came to be a person in the UK, and there was loads of conspiracy around that. Is she still alive? And so on. So I think it was an old lady who volunteered for it in a care home. I mean, if she died or she's ready to, didn't have many years left anyway. But no, she was fine. But there's always going to be an issue with that type of medication, that type of thing. When everybody is required and there's not enough time necessary to research, you're racing against the clock to save people's lives, and there's not enough time to save those lives of the rare individual who has an very adverse reaction to a vaccine. What is the answer to that? We don't know yet. There is probably, it appears to be no answer right now. It's like allergies. Some extreme allergies, extreme reactions to things can be life-threatening. But an allergy is essentially an overreaction to that which should be harmless. And you get that with certain medications. Some people are allergic to penicillin, but penicillin saved a lot of people's lives since its discovery, right? Yeah, that was interesting about Mars. Pretty cool. There's a lot of quakes they measured, though, isn't it? It's like 1,319 Martian quakes were analysed and measured to help them discern where the liquid water is in the crust. deep down. Yeah. Pretty damn cool. Peace out. Thanks for watching. I look forward to doing the next video. Bye.